Do you ever feel like love is something that you have to earn, or that being good enough, being polished enough, being soft enough, being needed enough will finally get you chosen? If so, then you may have the trophy chaser love loop, and it's time to retire that role. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Patterned. And on this episode, what we're going to be talking about is the trophy chaser love loop. We're going to do a deep dive into the trophy chaser when it comes to love. Now, if you do not know what your love loop pattern is, first and foremost, the 8 love loop patterns are the 8 specific pattern types that I discovered through my 10-year career of being in the relationship industry. And because I learned that love and money, the energetics of love and money are the same, we now know that if you have this pattern when it comes to love, it is showing up in your career, your finances, in your money, in your relationship with how you do money as well. So for the trophy chaser, and we're going to dive all into it, but the trophy chaser love loop is rooted in the core belief of needing to prove their worth and not having enough. Just scarcity, not enough. That is their limitation. But if you do not know your love loop pattern, then you want to go to the quiz in the show notes, or you can go to thelovelofts.com/quiz and take the 2-minute love and money pattern quiz to discover your love loop archetype, because every week I'm dropping a different episode that focuses on a specific love loop pattern in different areas of life, whether it's love, money, or next level living. So you will want to get clear on how this pattern, how your pattern type is showing up, sabotaging your love, your money, your self-worth, your next level lifestyle, and what you need to do to close the loop and end the cycle for good. Like I said, today we're talking about the trophy chaser. The trophy chaser is a pattern that I would say that was the most common pattern type that I typically would work with in relationship coaching. When I was focused on captivating courtship, for those you don't know, familiar, my relationship coaching business, captivating courtship, very successful, helped a lot of women to get married and to find partners. I love all the work that I've done over there, but the captivating courtship business was really important and instrumental in me being able to get a lot of case study information and work with these 8 different patterns behind the scenes. And the most common one that would join a program would be the trophy chaser pattern. And the trophy chaser pattern is also the pattern that I have always most identified with. It's always been my core pattern. So if there's any pattern that I know the most deeply, it's always going to be the trophy chaser. But most people who have the trophy chaser pattern find themselves in a lot of not enough situations when it comes to love or money. Like I said, this episode we're going to focus specifically on love and relationships. So I'm going to root this back to love. But you are going to see where this need to prove your worth when it comes to validation, your need to get external security and validation, and your need for, because you have a deep need for security, you always feel like you're not getting enough love, not getting enough attention, not feeling secure enough, or you're settling for relationships that are just enough. Just that enough thread is the common thread in your relationships and also in your finances and in your career as well. So for the trophy chaser, really, really learning to stay in a space of abundance is what's going to work for you to help you to finally break the loop and to get in alignment with that next level of love that you desire. So we're going to dive all into, I'm going to fully break this down for you today. But make sure that if you know someone who wants to level up in their career, in their finances, in their love life, in their lifestyle, in their worthiness, that you want to send them the love and money pattern quiz so that they can take it, they can discover their love loop, and then they can follow along with this podcast and with this series. Now, let's get into the trophy chaser. So the trophy chaser, at a very early age, somewhere along life, they learned that love is conditional, that love is through earning. Love is through achieving, and they need to be valued in a way that will make them feel safe or worthy. So, in order to get love, in order to feel safe, in order to feel worthy, they have to meet certain conditions. That is the core drive, the core operation of how a trophy chaser shows up on a very deep subconscious level without even realizing it. They have this belief that I need to prove that I am loved. I need to prove my worth. I need to prove that I'm deserving. And that causes a lot of chaos and a lot of unnecessary tension and struggle when it comes to their love life. So, common signs that you may see in a trophy chaser when it comes to their love life is feeling the need to people please or overachieve in relationships. What this could look like overachieving is feeling like you have to really do a lot. You have to really show up for another person. You have to really pour into another person. You have to really give to another person. You have to be the best, be the most attractive, be the most supportive, be the most caring, be the most considerate, be the most understanding. Like, you feel the need. You might even find yourself in the relationship needing to prove how smart you are, how deserving you are, how good of a person you are, maybe how good of a woman you are, how good of a man you are, but you're in this state of feeling like you have to do. And if you don't do, if you don't fix, if you don't make things happen, everything will fall apart. This can also show up feeling very anxious, very unworthy if you feel like you're not being chosen or prioritized. Super, super common in trophy chaser relationship dynamics is this deep insecurity around, not being chosen, not being prioritized, this fear of abandonment that creeps up that causes you to feel very, very anxious. And what's very interesting about the trophy chasers and why, not just because my pattern has always been a trophy chaser, but I just have a lot of empathy for trophy chasers, because when it comes to the trophy chaser dynamic and for that particular pattern, they tend to be high achievers. They tend to be ambitious or goal-oriented, personal growth-oriented. They tend to be people, or they're very smart. They're go-getters. They seem to have it together on the outside. They can appear very confident. They tend to be brains and beauty, male or female, but they tend to show up very confident on the exterior. And so people can have this assumption of that, well put together exterior, that means that that's how they feel on the inside. But underneath the surface, they really struggle with insecurities. They struggle with not feeling good enough. They struggle with not feeling worthy. They struggle with feeling like they have to do and fix and prove. They need that external validation. They need someone else to make them feel secure. They need to feel like they're a priority. And this deep need causes a lot of conflict, a lot of drama, and a lot of internal stress when it comes to relationship dynamics. Now, another thing that they often equate love with is the need to be impressive, needed, or perfect. So because they are high achievers and because they have this desire to people please and to prove that they are worthy, you can find them often feeling the need to impress in relationships. Again, that need to prove. So they might try to always be in a very impressive state. This can take them out of their authenticity because they don't want to show any weakness. And if they do show weakness, it's usually coming from a very emotionally reactive place when they've been tipped over the edge. But they feel this need to prove themselves and to just appear very impressive. They want to be needed. They want to show that, you can lean on them, that they have your back, that they're loyal, that they're going to take care of you. And this leads to a lot of issues in their relationship dynamics. Now, how this can also show up during the dating phase and the getting to know you phase. A lot of trophy chasers tend to outsource their validation by seeking high status or other high achievers, even though they're emotionally unavailable partners. So their need for validation causes them to tend to go after partners who are also very high achieving. And let me just say this. I don't have an issue with that on the surface. If you want someone who is a go-getter, you want someone who's very intelligent, very ambitious, they're well put together, they have their stuff together, I say go for it. I'm never going to tell anyone to not go after qualities that they find desirable. The problem is if you are disregarding someone's character, someone's emotional availability, someone's readiness for the type of relationship that you want, someone's willingness to commit to the type of relationship that you want, someone really showing up and being emotionally present, supportive, someone creating an emotional safe space, an emotional security for you in the relationship, you are sacrificing that and focusing on partners that look great on paper, but underneath or past that point, they really lack the inability to really be that long-term emotional support system to provide the level of security and prioritization that you desire. That is where that becomes a problem. And also that chasing for attention, feeling the need the attention on you, needing the connection, needing the validation, or winning someone over. A lot of trophy chasers love the thrill of the chase. They tend to show up in the beginning on their pedestal and have a very easy time attracting the types of partners that a lot of other love loops would love to attract. My trophy chasers tend to attract the partners who are high achieving, ambitious, maybe even very good looking, those who appear to have some type of status about them. Trophy chasers are a natural magnet for those type of partners because they're also a trophy. I'm not saying that the other love loops aren't trophies, but this is what makes the trophy chasers special and unique. They tend to be the high achievers of the group. And because they tend to be the high achievers and they have this magnetism about them that's very attractive and they very easily attract their equal counterparts. But because of the fact that they tend to have these insecurities and this need for validation and need to prove that they're worthy, they often see the people that they attract to be more attractive or more intelligent or more ambitious or more successful than they are. And so because of this, even though initially they may be a major magnet for the type of partner they desire, they tend to end up lowering their value and putting all their energy and all their focus on the other person, which eventually makes them unattractive to the partners that they initially attracted. And this is the loop in the cycle that the trophy chaser tends to stay in. Now, in the actual relationship, if they do get the actual relationship, or for a lot of trophy chasers, they tend to end up in a lot of situationships. What happens during the relationship, during the marriage, during the situationship, during the partnership, is that they tend to show up over functioning emotionally or financially. So you might find yourself feeling like you have to do the most in order to keep things going. You might find yourself feeling in the need to be the fixer. You're chasing the validation. You are looking for security. You're constantly having to look for someone else's validation, look to prove that you're good enough, looking to be that supportive partner, trying to make someone better, trying to improve a situation, trying to keep the connection. If there's some conflict, even though you're not wrong, you feel like it's your job to fix it. It's your job to figure out how to keep things together, how to move things forward. So you're over functioning emotionally. You might even find yourself being hyper aware of how you're perceived. So you are constantly worried about, did I say something wrong? Did I do something wrong? Is this person still attracted to me? Is this person still liking me? Like this deep insecurity around not being enough or not having enough love or not having enough attention, any of those things. And that struggle with that insecurity ends up requiring a lot of constant affirmation, constant validation. And in the beginning, this may not be as big of an issue, but it tends to end up becoming a major point of stress and conflict during a relationship or during a marriage if you constantly need validation and affirmation in order to feel secure. Now, we always talk about the emotional cost of this. When you don't do the work, when you're not leaning into rewiring this pattern and breaking the cycle for good, one, you're going to stay in a loop of same type of toxic relationship cycles. And for the trophy chaser, you actually can become a rather toxic partner when it comes to dating or in the actual relationship. Unlike some of the other love loops who tend to retreat or withdraw or avoid conflict, my trophy chasers tend to be ready for all the smoke. So, trophy chasers tend to lean in when they need that validation, when they need security, when they have a problem, when they're stressed or frustrated, when they're feeling insecure, any of those things. They tend to lean in and say how they're feeling or go after it. They tend to chase. They're going after what it is that they want. And so, because of that, they find themselves going through a lot of heartbreak, a lot of drama, conflict, a lot of situationships, a lot of kind of sort of relationships. They find themselves constantly in this place of start and stops that causes a lot of emotional turmoil, which only reinforces the fears or the beliefs of not being good enough, needing the validation, needing the security, and you just stay in this loop. And you can stay in this loop for years, for decades, if you do not rewire it. So you have to set the intention and make the decision to rewire. Now, of course, here at the Love Loft, there's several ways that you can do this. I would suggest for you to come on in, come become a member of our community, and be in a space where you have soul-led high achievers, soul-led creatives who are doing the work with you. But the initial way that you come into the Love Loft is through a heart spa. And the heart spa is so powerful, especially for a trophy chaser, because you're going to get to the root of the subconscious blocks so that you can finally end the loop, end the cycles that you've been in when it comes to your love life, and have a new plan on how to move forward. You're going to rewire consistently by navigating the rewire vault when it comes to the trophy chaser pathway. Now, if you are not a member and you want to just get started and you're not sure where to start, you can always go to the Trophy Chaser Rewire Kit. I'm going to link that in the show notes, and this is a standalone process that you can take yourself through so that you can rewire the Trophy Chaser pattern on your own. It's going to be workshops, heart healing visualizations that are specifically targeted to help you to rewire the trophy chaser pattern over time on your own. But you have to do the work, especially, if you are a trophy chaser, you're a high achiever, you're probably very ambitious, you probably have a lot of things going for yourself, you're probably juggling a lot of things. You need to be emotionally secure and emotionally stable. This is going to show up in your romantic life and in your career life and in your finances, in your business, whatever it is that you're doing that's under the money umbrella. This is going to show up in both areas. So if you don't learn to create that self-prioritization, create the security, do the inner work to rewire the pattern, and so you finally have that emotional stability and security that only you can create for yourself, you are going to stay in this painful cycle for a very long time. And I don't want that for you. Because here's the emotional cost. If you do not rewire, if you do not, there's always consequences. Consequences are good consequences, there are bad consequences. But the consequences of not ending this loop and breaking this cycle, the first thing that you have to think about is, do you actually want to be in a space where you're constantly spinning in cycles of constant anxiety and comparison? You are constantly worried about, are you good enough? Does the person still want you? Is the person going to leave you? Do they like someone else better? You're constantly in a space of anxiety and comparison. That is a very unhealthy space to be in when it comes to your love life. So you want to make sure that you are addressing this, and you want to use the Trophy Chaser workshop and heart healing visualization to address the specific pattern and get to the root of it. The next thing is that you also have to consider the emotional burnout that you experience from performance-based love. If you feel like you have to do, you have to fix, you have to give, you have to prove, if you're always in this doing mode, which is more of the masculine energy, even though you're a very emotional being and you're very heart-centered and heart-connected, if you feel like you're constantly having to chase affirmation, validation, security, you have to do, you have to give, you have to fix. If you are always in this over-functioning mode when it comes to your relationships, when it comes to your friendships, your family relationships, your relationship with your children, whatever it is, you are in this space of having to perform in order to get love, you're going to find yourself in a place of emotional burnout. And you don't want to be in a space of emotional burnout, because when you have that, those stress triggers are only going to cause you to emotionally react more, which is going to cause more chaos, more conflict, more drama, and more of the insecurity that you're already feeling. So you really want to make sure that you rewire. And the other thing is that you have to consider, do you want to stay in the cycle of attracting partners who reinforce this need that you have to do more or be more? Especially if you have been single for some time and you find yourself constantly attracting emotionally unavailable partners, even though they look great on paper. You find yourself attracting a lot of situationships, kind of sort of relationships, or even if you're in the relationship or you're married, but you still feel like you have to do, you have to prove, you have to fix, you have to do all of this in order to be worthy of love, in order to get the security, in order to get the affirmation. This is a pattern and a cycle that you want to end. You are never going to get the rest that you want and that you deserve in love if you're constantly trying to prove that you're worthy of it. If you're constantly chasing it, if you're constantly in need of it, if you're constantly in need of the validation, security, if you cannot create that emotional space, rest, and peace for yourself, if you don't choose to rewire that, you are going to stay in this space. So let's talk about some of the core things that you need to focus on. And these are the things that are inside of the Love Loop Rewire Vault as a member of the Love Loft. But it's also some of the key things that are inside the Rewire Kit. So like I said, if you are not a member of the Love Loft, or if you just want to get started, you're just like, I just want to taste, I just want to sample, I just want to see what this work is about, I just want to get some experience with it, then you want to get the Trophy Chaser Rewire Kit. But the first thing that we need to do is get to the root of your external validation. For this, I prefer to focus on inner child work. You want to release this need that you have to be admired, to be chosen, to be needed, to feel secure. And a lot of times this started very early on in childhood. At some point in time, the visualizations will help you get clear on the actual starting place. So you have the power to change it and to make some different decisions. You're opening up and creating new neural pathways that allow you to actually move forward and make some different decisions. But this is often learned in childhood. Maybe you got a lot of affirmation based upon your achievements or what you do, but you didn't get them for other aspects of who you are, your character. Maybe you were always told that you had to earn or that you had to do in order for you to gain something, but somewhere you equated safety and security with earning and doing, yet you still have this feeling of not being good enough, not being worthy. I notice also with a lot of my trophy chasers, they tend to have a lot of mother wounds, and that tends to show up very commonly where they felt like they didn't get the emotional connection, security, or validation from their mothers. They still feel like they have to prove that they're good enough. They feel like nothing that they ever do is good enough. They don't get the affirmation, they don't get the praise, they don't have the security or the nurturing that they needed from their mothers. And then that is what manifests in relationships, and they end up attracting a lot of partners that end up reflecting that just the same. So learning to release this and to rewire this. And like I said, we're going to start with the inner child. We're not going to end there. That's just one part of it. But one of the key things is doing the inner child work in the inner child heart healing visualization and the Trophy Chaser heart healing visualization that we created specifically for the Trophy Chaser pattern inside the Love Loft Vault and inside the Rewire Kit. Now, the second thing that you want to do is learn how to cultivate emotional safety from within. And this has to do with a few things. This goes to your triggers, to your emotional management, but also to your ability to trust and surrender. I am super, super big on learning how to trust and surrender, because that has been the number one thing that has transformed my life, especially as someone who has a Trophy Chaser pattern. Learning how to trust, how to surrender, learning how to rewire your deep need for validation and outsource and security, that is going to drastically transform how you show up in life, period. How you show up in your relationships, how you show up in your finances, how you show up in the workplace, in your business, all of the things. So we want to cultivate deep emotional safety from within, just simply learning how to feel emotionally full and grounded without the need for external confirmation. Inside the vault and the kit, you're going to focus on trust, learning to trust. But there's so many other things. So when we talk about the Trophy Chaser pattern in the full pathway is really getting down to the root. Trust, shadow work. It's going to be inner child. Your triggers, getting to the root of learning how to center and recalibrate when you are triggered, when you are feeling that. And also just really getting to a place where you can learn to surrender. Learning to surrender, learning to be back in your body, getting your brain and your body in alignment. You want that heart and mind coherence. Then when we talk about the trophy chaser, they're spending so much time in their head trying to solve a problem, trying to fix, trying to do, trying to prove, trying to figure out, how do I get love? Like, that is the driving force, because they just feel like they don't have enough and they don't feel secure. And when you're constantly in your head thinking that way, you're creating a lot of stress and anxiety. So your body's not in a space of feeling safe. Your body is in survival mode. So we have to do the inner work to get you back grounded and to get you back rooted, so we can get your head and your heart online together. Now, the other thing that you have to do is learn to let go of performing love. So releasing that perfectionism of overfunctioning, of proving, of feeling like you have to do enough, feeling like you're not enough, feeling like you have to make something happen. Learning how to shift that. And, we break this down for you specifically for the Trophy Chaser Love Loop. But learning how to shift out of that space and to have a plan of action so that you have these tools and you have the support that you need when this love loop comes up, when this pattern is surfacing, so that you can finally end this loop and have your power back and have your emotional peace back. This understanding that you don't need to do more, you don't need to overfunction, you don't need to fix, you don't need to prove. And that goes back to the trust and the safety and the alignment, because if you fully trusted, if you knew how to receive, if you felt emotionally safe and secure in your body, then you will understand that you have already done enough, you already are enough, and there's not much more for you to prove. And this can sound really great on a surface level. You may be thinking, oh yeah, I can do that, or I'm in therapy already, I'm already working on that. But if you have found yourself in cycles where high highs, low lows, you find yourself still repeating the same mistakes year after year after year in your relationships, in your love life, you find yourself constantly in the same start and stop cycles, the same highs in the beginning, just a couple months later or a year later, or maybe even a few years later, you end up hitting those same low lows in your love life, then you haven't actually gotten to the root and actually done the work to rewire. And the work that we do here at the Love Loft is very different than traditional talk therapy, or even some of the, we do all the holistic stuff here. We do all the energy work. But really teaching you how to spiritually get in alignment, how to rewire the pattern. This is the work that you need to make it long lasting and to do this for good. Now, I would always suggest for you to do a heart spa day, because you really want to get to the root of the blocks. You want to shift the way that you're seeing yourself, and you want to shift your identity. But if you can only start with the kit has a lot of the starter tools that's going to help you to get started with rewiring this pattern. So I highly suggest that you go ahead and you join us at the Love Loft, become a member, book a consultation. I'm going to put the link in the show notes so that you can book a consultation. Just see if this is the right next step for you. If a heart spa day that is focused on love alignment, if this is specifically what you need, I'll let you know. And if it's not a good fit for you, then I'll point you in a direction of other options. But give yourself the gift and give yourself the permission to finally get out of this cycle so you can move forward in your love life, have healthy relationship dynamics, start to feel secure, learn how to self-prioritize, and stop staying in this loop of anxiety, not enough, not good enough, not secure enough, not a priority, all of those lower emotional feelings. Go ahead, check us out at the Love Loft, book a consultation, or like I said, you can go to the link in the show notes this week. It's going to be a special option for the Trophy Chaser kit. You can go ahead and sign up for that and start doing this work on your own. It's going to walk you through the Trophy Chaser pattern. I'll tell you all about it, how it's showing up for you. You're going to work through the workshops every week. You're just going to do the workshop. You don't have to do the workshop over and over again. So the journal prompts. Let's just say you're doing an inner child. You're going to do the inner child workshop. You're going to read the full lesson. You're going to work through the journal prompts and then listen to the heart healing visualization at least 2 to 4 times in a week. I would suggest like 3 times a week is like the sweet spot for you to really rewire. But you want to do this, needs to be like your little system. And then the next week, you're going to take on the next workshop and the next set of journal prompts. Listen to that visualization 3 times a week. And you're just going to do this. And you're going to revisit this kit or your pathway inside the portal. You're going to revisit this over and over and over again until you have felt that shift that you have rewired. Again, I like to remind people that your rewiring patterns, this isn't just a one-time thing. Oh, I did the workshop, I listened to the visual, I'm done. No, you've been struggling with this pattern for years or decades. This stuff goes back to your childhood. It might go back to your teen years or your early adult years. You've been operating in this state for a very long time. So you have to rewire it. You have to revisit it. You have to treat this like a way of being. Just another thing that you do. Just like you get up and you brush your teeth and you shower and it's just part of your rituals. This becomes a part of that as well. It needs to become a part of your weekly routine. Maybe not forever, but for a period of time. You want to dedicate at least a solid 3 to 6 months of using the tools. Now, don't get me wrong. You're going to feel a shift right away. You're going to feel a shift within the first few weeks. You're going to feel a shift. You're going to see a difference. But you want to create more neural pathways so that your operating way of being. I personally think it takes at least, it takes a solid 3 months of consistency. Of course, you're going to make some mistakes. You're going to take some breaks. I understand. No one's perfect. But a solid 3 months, 3 to 6 months for you to really see long-term changes. Now, if you do the heart spa, you're going to get an instant shift right away because of how powerful it is, how that day is designed, and then you have the plan to go with it. If you don't know what's included in the heart spa, this is our initial gateway into the Love Loft. So with the heart spa, you are going to have a full 1-day retreat. It's an amazing day where we bring you in no matter where you are in the country. You can come in. Don't worry. We'll take care of you. We'll put you up. You come in and we create a full day of healing and transformation for you. It's so spiritual. It's so beautiful. It is a day that you've never experienced, but we have everything that you need. And our hypnosis, our Reiki, our a sound, and our coaching and guidance and the plan that you get for that day is all very specific to you and specific to your pattern type. So whether you're booking it for love, for money, or for your self-worth and to elevate that, we address the deep-rooted subconscious blocks to help you rewire and to move forward. That is like a 1-day express. But if you're not ready for that, even though I would suggest for you to step into a more powerful version of yourself and make the decision to do that, just because the experience is like none other. But if you're not ready for that, then you want to at least start with the rewire kit, just so you can have that in your back pocket. You can have that a part of your toolkit to help you to emotionally regulate and to stretch your nervous system in a healthy way so that you can hold more when it comes to your love life and to your relationships. So the link for everything is in the show notes. And please make sure that you leave us a review, spread the word, invite others to listen to this podcast, share the Love Loop quiz with someone that you know that can benefit for it so that you are rewiring these patterns together. And come join us inside of the Love Loft so that you can be with others who are also on this journey. We're doing the work, leveling up in their love life, in their finances, in their career, in their lifestyle. And you don't have to do this alone. So thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Patterned, and I can't wait to speak with you soon. Have a wonderful, wonderful week.